Hello everybody, welcome to another 1134 Comics video. As you can see, I have some toys in front of me. It's been a pretty good week for collecting classified, at least for this guy. And there are a few things I want to talk about in this video, somewhat related, somewhat unrelated, whatever. But first, G.I. Joe classified stuff. This will include some just my own personal experience over the week, the 1027 event stuff, stuff that we found out about from the Comic-Con over there across the pond. Yeah, I just want to talk about some G.I. Joe stuff. That's kind of my my go-to line for the past while now. I don't know, year, whatever. I want to run down just kind of an overview of some of this stuff from the 1027 event that I thought was kind of interesting or cool or worth commentary. It's not going to be a complete overview of the whole event. It's not going to talk about everything they did. It's not going to be a deep analysis. It's just my thoughts on some of this stuff. And I want to touch on the Transformers, Haslab, some Haslab stuff in general. And I wanted to talk about Black Series for a second. And I'm going to try to talk about Black Series without devolving into a full-blown rant, so we'll see how that goes. Thirdly, lastly, I want to just kind of like talk about a little bit of stuff about 1134 Comics. Stuff specific to the channel and 1134 Comics in general. Okay, so without further ado, G.I. Joe Classified. So it's been a great week for me anyway, and I'm sure a lot of other collectors out there for the G.I. Joe Classified line. I have before me all the cool stuff that's showed up at my doorstep this week. So for quite a long time now, and justly, I believe, a lot of collectors have been complaining about things taking a long time, and it's been true. So, like many of you guys, I got my Crimson Twins in this week. I got my Viper 3-pack in this week. And my Sergeant Stalker came in this week. As you can see, I have some blast effects from the Viper 3-pack on here. So this is not an unboxing or a review of these figures. All I'm saying is every last one of these is awesome. So I'm not trying to come out here and be like, oh, Hasbro, you're amazing, you do everything awesome, or I'm out here trying to get free stuff from you guys. No, I call them like I see them, and what I see here is badassery. There is a very likely scenario where I buy another one of these Viper 3-packs. I'm loving the blast effects. I really like how by being able to do things like take off their, I mean, you guys have already seen all this. I'm not showing you anything new, I'm sure. But to be able to take off their little scarves, and I'm not going to do it on this video, but you can take off these gauntlets. You can really make it look like a bunch of different guys, right? And I love that. It really reminds me of when the Black Series, I feel like I pulled this guy out before. As long ago as this came out, this is still one of my favorite. I think this is one of the best Black Series figures ever produced. And I feel like these Vipers are kind of taking ideas from this, where you can really make them look like different guys in the display. I feel like they're taking that to the next level by putting them in a 3-pack to army build, giving, once you take off the scarf and the gauntlet, to give these guys different skin tones. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen this already, but it doesn't hurt to, I guess, point out. I mean, it's going to be hard to see in this video, but you know, there's one skin tone. There's a different skin tone. If you take these off, you know, I really just love the idea of having troops, having an army of troops or a squad of troops that legitimately look like different people. Which, even though this is an example from the Black series that I think did a really good job at that, there's so many other examples of troop builders in lines that don't do that at all. And really, I'm just grabbing stuff that's near me to make these points, so I'm sure it could be made better otherwise. But just grabbing things that are near me, I don't think this is a good example of a troop builder. Now, clearly it's a troop, you know, but what I'm saying is, if you really get in there, if you have 5 of these dudes all next to each other, they all have the same exact dirt on them, right? And for me, the same exact scuff marks, whatever. And for me, that kind of breaks the illusion or suspension of disbelief if this was a piece of fiction. But you don't normally see like 6 dudes out anywhere who all have the same exact smudges on their clothes. You get what I'm saying? Whereas with these guys came with what, 5 different rifles, these modular blast effects where you can even make the blast effects unique, multiple accessories, the goggles, the scarves, the removable gauntlets, the different skin tones on 2 of the different characters. You could easily get 2 of these packs and have 6 guys who all look like 6 actually different, unique people wearing these uniforms. I love that. I'm also in love with the Crimson Twins. I think this is the same gun that came with movie Baroness, but I like it better with these guys because these guys are so much cooler than movie Baroness. Like, that's kind of a dog-ass figure. Movie Baroness was kind of what got me really into the line. I picked it up really randomly, and eventually I realized like that's not the best one, and I got the coil bike Baroness, like yada yada. I'm like rambling now. Let me try to get out of tangent mode and get back to the point. These are awesome army builders. And this is going to take me to the next piece I want to talk about, G.I. Joe Classified. So we had our 1027 event, which I'll talk about some stuff from that in a second, as far as like things we learned, which I'm sure you've already heard about. But we also had that, or not we, but the Brits had their big Comic-Con over there across the pond, and there were some pipeline reveals there. We had Big Ben, which, you know, some folks are really happy about, some folks are take it or leave it. Pipeline revealed, what's it, Shadow Tracker. Again, you know, maybe some folks are really about that, maybe some folks aren't. But the one that they revealed at that in England that I'm excited about is really similar. The reasoning is really similar to these guys. The Female Trooper 2-pack. I think that looks awesome. I'm not going to put an image of it here, at least as of time of recording. There, as far as I can tell, there's only one image floating around. It looks like somebody snapped it at the convention. I would direct you to go to histank.com if you would like to look at the images of that. I feel like they currently have the best image. Last night I was spending some time looking at it, blew it up on my computer screen, and that looks awesome. I'm probably going to lock in 2 of those because of the same reasons. You have multiple heads, so I think between the 2 figures you have 3 different heads. You have 3 different helmets. You have a whole rack of like firearms and accessories. And it looks to me like you have all the same blast effects that come with these Vipers. Now I'm thinking also grab another pack of these Vipers, get 2 packs of those female troopers. I'm gonna have blast effects for days. I have more guns than I know what to do with. So I'm pretty stoked about that. And also my Cobra army is growing and growing. I'm gonna have a whole squad of lady fighters. I have a whole rack of Vipers. I'm pretty stoked about what's coming down the pike for classified. Now, 1027 event, I'm just going to recap probably what you've heard. You might have watched the event. You might have seen some of the other channels. I'm just going to recap and give you my 2 cents. So put Serpentor and Dr. Mindbender back up for pre-order. I think that was, you know, an okay move for folks because there was a lot of, we'll say, disappointment in how they were originally released. So I think that shows that the team at Hasbro is, say what you will, you know, but I think they are trying to do their best or do right by the fans. That said, I feel like there have been a lot of missteps along the way. I feel like there's some like no-brainer decisions that were just kind of made incorrectly, especially in terms of things like how they did Serpentor and Dr. Mindbender. That said, it seems like they do want to cater to us, so they are at least listening. So I think that it would be better if they, instead of putting out something like Serpentor and Air Chariot as an exclusive, they put out something like Serpentor and Air Chariot as a regular release, and then the exclusive could be something like, I don't know, Dr. Mindbender in a lab coat, or something like the Crimson Twins in their business suits. You know, something that people would think is cool, but not necessarily the iconic main version of a character. Okay, so also 1027, we got a pipeline reveal for Chuckles. Chuckles. This is one that I think is like a really cool release. But it's also another one that I feel like can be a take it or leave it for a lot of people. And I actually kind of like that because G.I. Joe Classified has been pipelining a lot of stuff that I'm like, oh, I want that. Oh, I want that. Oh, I want that. So in my opinion, it's cool when they have some things that are like, oh, wow, that's really cool. But I don't necessarily feel compelled to pre-order this. I don't necessarily feel like if I miss it, I got like a hole in my collection. Everybody's going to collect their own way. But Chuckles is one of those characters that I think is great. He's been in comics, cartoons. He's kind of somebody who would look, you know, stand out on the shelf if they give him his classic Hawaiian shirt. At the same time, he's not like a main character, you know, that if like, he's not like Scarlet or Roadblock or somebody who, if you don't have him in your collection, he feels like kind of like the collection's missing something. So I really like that. They had the display case. Now I'm getting a little bit maybe conspiracy theory here, looking at all the clues and trying to piece it all together. But they were showing those, I think they were called 2-bys. There's twice the size of a regular figure mock-ups that they used back in the day when they were creating the 3.75 inch figures. Now they had, if my memory serves me correctly, Chuckles, who then they pipelined, Jinx, Naugahyde, version 3, Sergeant Slaughter, and version 2, Storm Shadow. They also had an assortment of vehicles. On the top shelf, they had stuff that's already coming out for G.I. Joe Classified. Middle shelf were these 2-by mock-up figures and a couple vehicles. And then the bottom shelf were a couple more old school vehicles. Now, we shouldn't look too much into all of this, but they did say that they found a bunch of these back in their warehouse or whatever, but they chose these ones to put on the display. And then Chuckles happened to be a pipeline reveal. My thinking is that all these figures that they had in that middle case are going to be coming out in the next year or two. So I feel like we can probably look forward to hearing Naugahyde coming to the Dreadnoks pretty soon. I feel like we'll probably hear about Torch before Naugahyde because I feel like that would just make more sense to my mind. But my guess would be, like, after the main 3 Dreadnoks, we'll probably get Figure and Pet, and it'll probably be Naugahyde and the Warthog. That they'll put out that version 2 Storm Shadow, I mean, that's obvious. They're definitely going to do that at some point. Jinx, I think I've been thinking for a long time we'll see her soon. Now, she wasn't a playable character in Operation Blackout, but she did show up in scenes in Operation Blackout, and it's my opinion that this whole line, I don't know if it's just an opinion, but this whole line started off with a very Operation Blackout look, and my guess was that the idea was they were going to put out figures that really matched that Operation Blackout vibe or aesthetic. And my sense is that they were going to put out a Jinx probably earlier. We probably would have already seen it by now, and it probably would have looked like the version from Operation Blackout, which that's, if you go to the G.I. Joe website, they have a page with all the G.I. Joe characters and all the Cobra characters. Not all, but whatever ones they chose to put on there. And the version of Jinx they have on that website is also the version you see in the Operation Blackout game. So that is probably the version they were going to do for Classified, I would think. Nowadays, I think they're more likely to do the classic version 1 Jinx that we saw in the Real American Hero line. And honestly, I would prefer that. I feel like most of us would probably prefer that, but I think that's what's going to happen. Version 3 Sergeant Slaughter, they also had a Triple T inbox in that case. And I said in a previous video, like, as soon as Sergeant Slaughter signed back on to Hasbro, I believe that the Triple T will be one of those medium-sized vehicles that we will see come down the pike in the next year or two. You know, I don't have any inside scoop here, just seeing what I see and going off of that. But I feel confident that that's going to happen, and I also feel pretty confident that they're going to give him a different outfit. It might not be exactly like that version 3 Sergeant Slaughter. It might be more like the, you know, maybe he's wearing the USA shirt, or maybe they put him in or not Python Patrol, but Slaughter's Marauders colors. Who knows? But I do believe we're going to see Triple T soon and another Sergeant Slaughter figure. I'm probably going to pass on all that. Triple T is not my favorite G.I. Joe vehicle. I don't have unlimited space, so I'm really kind of holding out. I think if that were to come, I think I would pass and wait for something more like a Vamp. That's definitely on my list. So anyway, I digress. So those are my thoughts on a lot of the stuff from G.I. Joe over the past week. Super happy about my deliveries. Most likely going to get more of these Vipers. Excited for the female troopers coming down the pike. The rest of the pipeline stuff and the name-only reveals and all that, I think you're fine. I'm lukewarm on. I can take or leave probably. But the female trooper pack, I'm all in. These Vipers are awesome. These guys are awesome. And I feel this way about I feel like every time I get a new Joe in my shelf, I'm like, this is my new favorite figure. But Stalker is totally badass. I don't think there's one single flaw with this action figure. Other channels will have done like in-depth reviews about this, so I'm not going to bother with that. I'm already running over time, and I haven't even gotten to my next things I wanted to talk about yet. Next bit, the 1027 event, things outside of classified. First, I want to talk about some of the new Haslab stuff. Well, before I get to new Haslab stuff, that Engine of Vengeance, which tomorrow is the last day, they did a last ditch trying to drum up backers for that thing, and it's a sad state of affairs. Now, I don't really collect Marvel Legends, be it I have picked up a few somewhat recently. I do plan on getting some of the X-Men stuff coming down the pike in a little while. But I don't really collect Marvel Legends, so I'm not going to come out here pretending like I'm some kind of big Marvel Legends collector. That said, there was a time where I was a huge Marvel Comics reader. I have fallen off quite a bit since then, but the character Damian Hellstrom that they added in for this Engine of Vengeance, that was actually a comic that I actively was reading and collecting 20 years ago or whatever. So it was kind of cool for me to see that come out as a figure. But I'll say this, it kind of looked a little goofy to me. Like, it wasn't knocking my socks off. Now, I wasn't somebody who was ever going to back this thing in the first place. Like I said, I'm not really a big Marvel Legends collector. But my sense is that that wasn't the figure that was going to get a lot of people excited enough to go back this thing, especially to the point where they would even unlock that figure, right? Because you need thousands more backers to get to that point. The thing ends tomorrow. By the time when the event went on 10/27, you only had 3 or 4 days or whatever. That's your Hail Mary. The thing doesn't look awesome at all. I mean, I feel like you could have done an awesome version of that character, even as somebody who wasn't planning on getting it. But I feel like I am ostensibly a Marvel fan, at least historically so. It just seems kind of, lackluster. And this project is dead in the water. The last time I looked, it actually had dropped significantly. It was at 4,080 some backers or something like that. And I feel like at its height, it was over 6,000. So that's not good. Not good at all. It's not just dead in the water. It's like sinking to the bottom of the ocean. I think it's a disaster. That said, there are other things going on with Haslab that are awesome that were shown in 1027. Now, I am not a big Transformers collector, though I will pick up some of these little 3.75-inch guys every now and again. I'm not getting into the Transformers line. It's too much. Too much, too far. But I do like these little guys. I'll pick these up once in a while. But I know enough to know that Deathsaurus Haslab looks cool. And it doesn't look like they're trying to totally bend the fans over on the price. I looked it up and I think it was like $1.75 or something like that. So $175 is $175. So don't get me wrong. It's a good chunk of change. But unlike Engine of Vengeance, I feel like you can much more confidently make the argument that Deathsaurus is worth that price. And as somebody who's not really a Transformers collector, who just grabs a little 3.75 guy once in a while, I'll tell you, I thought about it. I almost backed the thing. I'm not going to. I have other things on pre-order that are likely to hit. Holiday time is here, so I can't be willy-nilly just blowing money on things that I don't even really collect. That said, that looked really cool. That Deathsaurus, in my opinion, looked really cool. I think that is like a good Haslab. Also, they broke down all the tiers for you right out the gate. which tells me that Transformers team kind of maybe, doesn't want to find themselves in that situation as the Marvel team. So right out the gate, they told you everything you're going to get when certain things are unlocked. And in my opinion, it looked awesome all the way down the line. Like each element of it looked great. And I felt like the promotion for it was cool too, that they were cutting it in with like pieces of the animation. So great job there. Now, now another Haslab project that I think looks awesome. Now, I don't know if this is going to make or not, but that, excuse me if I get the name wrong because I failed to look at this before recording, but HeroScape, I believe, is the name. So clearly it's not a thing that I follow, but I do think it looked really cool. Now, back, whatever, when I was a much younger person, probably in like middle school, I had a group of friends and we played D&D all the time. I like board games, right? My wife and I have a whole ton of board games. And I kind of feel like that is the type of thing that I could have a lot of fun with. I would love that. But I think it's somewhere around $250. Don't quote me on that. You can look it up. And as much as I think it is cool, and as much as I believe that I would get a chance to play it once in a while, I also feel like it's the type of thing, based on how often we actually play all the board games we already own, I feel like it's the type of thing where I would pay a bunch of money for it and play it like once every 2 or 3 years or something. And beyond that, it would be in the closet with the rest of the board games. So that's another one, especially at this time of year. It's hard for me to justify that expense. But if you are somebody who's able to play board games more frequently or are into like role playing, I would say look at that, give that thing a closer look, because to me, it looks totally awesome. I don't know if it's going to back. I kind of hope it does, even though I'm not going to get it. Like, that's the type of thing that I would like to see be successful. Because if I could get, and maybe I could look this up and see, something similar to that or the same brand at retail for a little bit less money and get, maybe I spend $60 on something a little bit smaller and then maybe another 60 later and add on to it. I feel like that's something I could really actually get into. And if I'm not dropping all that coin at once, I won't feel so bad if it's something I play with my wife and like a couple of friends one night and then it sits in the closet for a year before I play it again. $250 though, if I play it one night with a few people and then it sits in the closet for a year, I might not feel super, I might not feel like I made the best choice with my money at that point. That's all I really want to get into with the Haslab stuff. There's only one other piece that I want to talk about for 10/27, and that's Black Series. And I'm going to try not to go into a whole rant here. I'm just going to say another Black Series disappointment. To me, to others, whatever floats your boat. To me, it was like, what's the point they gave us for Black Series? Unless I missed something, because I was watching, I did have to get up from my desk for a moment. But another friggin' Mandalorian, just in the Imperial disguise. Another Cal Kestis, which makes sense because they have a new game coming out. So pass on that. But it's still just another iteration of a figure we've already had. And then, and I get it, it's the 40th anniversary card back thing, but another damn Boba Fett. The same exact Boba Fett as we have right here. Maybe a little difference in the paint apps. But this is the type of stuff that drives me crazy with Black Series, and really why I barely even buy these things anymore. How many more times are we going to get this same exact thing? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people who think it's cool to get the same figure over and over and over and over again. I'm not one of them. So you have this event. You have Marvel, who, even though they have that engine of vengeance that everybody's dogging on, and I think rightly so, they had some cool things to show us in that live stream. G.I. Joe, you know, they didn't give us a whole lot, but they did do some fan service, and they at least gave us some things to speculate about. I think they're actually really smart in their marketing. That said, I don't know what the hell's going on with Black Series. It seemed, to me, it's just getting boring and boring and boring. I don't need any more Boba Fett's. What I would like to see, what might bring me back to caring about Black Series, would be if we got a whole wave that was not Disney Plus show stuff, right? If we got a wave that was off the top, Lobot, Death Star Gunner, Weequay, Jack Porkins, Senator Palpatine. That would be a wave that would snap me out of it. I would say, oh shit, Black Series is on it. Then that's not even to get to the crazy all over the place pricing. So I love my collection of Black Series, obviously. But really, I am backing off so hard on buying more Black Series stuff. And then what they showed at that 10/27 event was just like, I don't even know. It's not like I was like disappointed, because my expectations are so low, right? So if my expectations are all the way down here somewhere, and what you're showing me is all the way down here, well, it's not disappointment. It's you're meeting my expectations, and my expectations are that you are boring and suck. Whole pile of toys here. So that's all I want to talk about 10/27 and toy lines. Now I just want to talk briefly about 1134 Comics. Okay, 1134 Comics. That is the channel you're watching. So I haven't really talked about this in any videos, but I think I might have written about it in some descriptions, and I believe I also wrote a little bit about it in the blog, the webcomics blog, which precedes this channel by a long time. The blog, the webcomic stuff, I've been doing that for a long, long time. And the channel is kind of a new thing, or at least like actually making content on this channel with any regularity is a relatively new thing for me. So anyway, to get to the point, I've been in the process of reorganizing, kind of like trying to improve as best I can the studio area, where if you see some of the like oldest videos on this channel before I really kind of started going in this direction, those were recorded down there in that studio. That's where I like do drawings. I would make comics. I would shoot pictures, or rather take action figure photography. I've been working on this basement situation, this studio situation, and that's why I haven't been posting up any action figure photography as of late. Now, I got a new diorama piece that I really can't wait to like take some pictures in. But the place is a disaster right now. I have comic books like all over the place. I finally got some more boxes and some more bags and boards, so I can finally start getting that sorted. Toys everywhere, art supplies all askew, things just not right. But I'm finally getting closer and closer to finishing that project. And then once I get there, I'll be able to finally get back to taking some cool figure photography of Black Series stuff and G.I. Joe stuff primarily. And also get back into making more web comics. And that's kind of where I'm going right now. Just this weekend, I finally made a new webcomic for the first time in a long time. And that's because ever since 1134 Comics started, which was quite a long time ago at this point, every Halloween I'd make a Halloween themed webcomic featuring characters that I've already established in 1134 Comics lore. So if you would like to check out the new Halloween webcomic from 1134 Comics, go to the website. That's linked below. Now I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I'm not shooting for Eisner Awards here with these comics. You can go back into the archives. You can read years worth of like goofy 1134 comics. It's all about just being silly. It's really all about the lulz, maybe more my lulz than anybody else's. But if you do go and you check them out, I hope you enjoy. I'm not asking anything for it or whatever. I'm not asking you to buy anything or tell me you like me or whatever. I just, I like to draw. I like to tell stories. These are very short, barely stories. They're jokes, really. But if you would like, if you're in the Halloweeny mood, check it out at 1134comics.com. And also about the studio and all that stuff, I think I should be done pretty soon. I went to the hardware store recently and I got a few things that I need. Went to a local comic shop, also got a few things I needed there. And it's all starting to come together. And my hope is once I'm finished, it'll give me another space to record in and shoot. It'll make it easier to take action figure photography, and it'll just make everything more streamlined so I can produce more varied video content, more regular web comics here and there. I might even do another print comic again at some point. So that's something I've done also in the past with 1134 Comics. And, just kind of elevate everything. So keep you posted on there in the blog. If you want to subscribe to that, you don't have to. I've been posting on that thing for years to very few readers. So it is what it is. I'm going to keep doing it. Whether I have 100 people follow me on there, 1,000 or 0, I'm going to keep doing these goofy things. So whatever. I do want to say that whoever has subscribed to this channel, I do appreciate your coming by. I do enjoy interacting with you all in the comments. So if you're here to talk about toys in the comments, awesome. I love talking about toys. It's kind of why the channel took this direction in all reality. And if you want to read comics written by this guy, you can go to the website. It's all jokes. Like I said, I'm not shooting for any awards with these things. And I guess that's it for today. So as of ending this recording, this is a long ass video. So I'm going to try to edit it down substantially. So maybe you guys will actually watch it to this point. Okay. With that, like and subscribe if you like. And I'll see you next time. See ya.